As the rift between United States and the European Union continues to widen, German security experts are concerned that the Donald Trump administration could pull a kill switch on the F-35 Lightning II fighters that Germany is acquiring from the United States. Shortly after Russia invaded Ukraine, Germany decided to procure 35 F-35 jets from the United States in March 2022, along with missiles and other armaments, for about 10 billion euros. The move marked the culmination of German efforts to replace its aging fleet of Tornado fighter jets. The first F-35 will be delivered to the German Bundeswehr in the United States in 2026. The remaining fighter jets will be delivered to the Luftwaffe in Germany in 2027, and the service will commence training on these jets in the US in 2026 or 2027. In addition to the F-35 fighter jets, an unknown military source had told Reuters in June 2024 that Germany is considering purchasing 8 more F-35s from American defense firm Lockheed Martin. Additionally, Germany was also understood to be contemplating replacing its nuclear-capable Tornado fighters with the certified nuclear-capable F-35s. German Luftwaffe said in March 2024 that obtaining nuclear certification for the Lockheed Martin F-35A Lightning II Joint Strike Fighter was a key factor for purchasing the aircraft. However, with tensions now brewing between the Donald Trump administration and the countries in the European Union, Germany might be scrutinizing the purchase of American stealth fighters, according to media claims. Trump's recent decision aimed at taming Ukraine have heightened concerns that he could use a kill switch on the German F-35 fighters to impose his political interest on Germany, as recently reported by German publication Bild. A kill switch is typically believed to be a software-backed backdoor mechanism which could be used by the supplier of a technology to disable or deteriorate the operation of a system. In this particular case, the F-35 stealth fighter jets. Incidentally, the so-called kill switch might not be the only concern on Germany's mind when it comes to F-35 jets. A recent development in India involving the F-35B jet has been a cause of major concern and embarrassment for America and Lockheed Martin, the jet's manufacturer. It so happened that the British F-35B, part of the HMS Prince of Wales Carrier Strike Group, was conducting operations 100 nautical miles off the Indian coast when adverse weather and low fuel forced an emergency diversion to Tiruvananthapuram on June 14. Although this might be the official version provided by the British Navy, many military experts don't buy this version. Experts argue that jets like F-35 are designed with extremely strict security protocols. If the jet senses that some kind of tampering is happening with its software or internal systems, then it cannot lock itself down. This was the reason experts argue that a team from Lockheed Martin had to come to salvage the jet after 14 days of being stranded in India. Experts think that the jet's coordinations were disabled and a system lockout must have happened that overrode all manual commands. Experts believe that under the guise of joint military exercise, Britain chose to probe India's air defense networks using the F-35B jet. Britain wanted to see and collect intelligence on India's air defense behavior and radar signature without engaging. This is why the F-35B came near India's airspace to map India's radar coverage and to detect what type of radars get triggered, measure the response time of fighter jets scrambling or missile locking, and see if electronic warfare jamming or spoofing is detected, and identify how far they can penetrate or provoke before interception. These activities can be called as passive level spying by the UK. But the so-called stealth jet got detected by Indian Air Force IACCCS network. And as soon as it got detected, India's network logged onto it using radar and electronic warfare systems. That log triggered a self-defense response inside the F-35B, possibly a firmware-based system lock or cyber interference, making the jet unable to return to its carrier. This incident has further dented the reputation of the F-35 fighters, and the meme phase that happened in India owing to the stranded jet did not help its cause either. Now, Coming back to German order of F-35s, although there have been rumors of a US-controlled kill switch in the F-35 for some time, the US halting military aid to Ukraine has fueled concerns that it could be used against allies operating the F-35. Joachim Schrammhofer, head of communications at defense company Hensoldt, was quoted by Bild as saying, "The F-35 kill switch is not just a rumor. A simpler way is through a mission planning system that it will not allow the fighter to land." However, defense and security experts in Germany appear to be paranoid about US intentions. The ex-chairman of the Munich Security Conference, Wolfgang Ischinger, told Bild, "If we should fear that the US would make with the future German F-35 jets the same as they do in Ukraine now, then the issue of contract cancellation may be considered." However, the concerns were dismissed by officials from Switzerland and Belgium, which have also purchased the F-35 Lightning II. The Swiss Department of Defense said that the US cannot jam the F-35 aircraft and assured its operators can fly it independently, as reported by the Telegraph. Jean-Frédéric Vancina, Belgium's chief of defense, took a more stern tone and said that the F-35 was not a remote-controlled aircraft. Even though the alarm about a supposed kill switch may be unfounded, there is also concern that the US administration would pause the delivery of critical parts for the aircraft, much like it did with Ukraine. According to reports, Ukraine will not receive the radar jammers used in the F-16 fighters it operates, which will deny the Ukrainian Air Force its most crucial aerial countermeasures at a critical juncture in the war. Earlier, Canada had expressed similar concerns, as reported by local Canadian publication Ottawa Citizen. Some sections in Canada have raised alarm that the US could indirectly control Canada's F-35 fleet, as it could control the hardware and software upgrades needed to keep the aircraft flying. However, the Canadian Department of National Defense also denied allegations that the US had a kill switch on the aircraft. Having said that, Bundeswehr has not acknowledged or endorsed the concerns expressed in Germany. However, this stems from a deeply fractured relationship between the United States and European countries, including France and Germany, over Washington's treatment of Ukraine in recent times. The cracks in the transatlantic relationship have been appearing since the US President Donald Trump was elected. However, these cracks became fully exposed when the Trump administration held discussions with the Russians over ending the Ukraine war without any representation from Ukraine or the European Union. Later, a bitter spat occurred between the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, US President Donald Trump, and Vice President J.D. Vance at the Oval Office, with the latter cornering Zelensky. Shunned by the United States, Zelensky received support from its European partners, including Germany, France, and others. At a summit in London in early March, European leaders united for showing solidarity with Kyiv, promising to increase defense spending and forming a coalition to protect a potential truce in Ukraine. With 18 allies in attendance, the summit discussed security guarantees for Ukraine in the event of a ceasefire. The US also announced that it was halting all military aid to Ukraine and ending intelligence sharing mechanisms with the country, further triggering tensions between the US and the European Union. Moreover, there is a growing sentiment and concern across Europe that Washington could abandon its allies in case of differences. Europe has now pledged a defense spending surge amid threats posed by Russia. EU leaders closed ranks last week to boost the bloc's defenses. "We are moving decisively towards a strong and more sovereign Europe and defense," Antonio Costa, who heads the Council of the EU's 27 states, told reporters after the talks. Not just that, top intelligence experts in the Bundestag are advocating for a European espionage network and cautioning that in the face of increasing uncertainty, Europe cannot rely on US intelligence. Germany, for one, has been on the forefront of criticizing the Donald Trump administration's policies for Europe. Late last month, Friedrich Merz, the incoming Chancellor of Germany, vowed independence from the United States. "My absolute priority will be to strengthen Europe as quickly as possible so that step by step we can achieve independence from the USA," the Chancellor said. The head of the German Parliament's Intelligence Oversight Committee, Konstantin von Notz, called on Germany and its European partners set up their network for exchanging intelligence as reported by Politico. We need a European intelligence cooperation format, call it Euro-EYES, to ensure that strong states can exchange information swiftly and securely on clear legal grounds, he told the publication. The sudden decision by CIA to halt intel sharing with Ukraine, which Director John Ratcliffe confirmed last week, raised fears that Germany could also be subject to similar limitations, endangering the security of Europe. Additionally, as transatlantic relations reach a new low, European Union is facing pressure to improve its technological capabilities and wean itself off a significant reliance on digital infrastructure and services from the US. The hysteria over the kill switch appears to be a product of this trust deficit.